So continue our discussion on backbends today and some of the things that might be challenging you or restricting you. In the previous video I shared how there's certain factors we don't have much control over that have to do with bone-on-bone compression, and there's other factors we can certainly take a closer look at and apply some techniques that will help us move through some of those challenges or restrictions that will help us to flourish in our backbend poses. One thing I do want to say is if you have had a history of back issues or injuries, you could have some underlying factors, and you still want to make sure it's safe for you to practice these things. And we're all just kind of put together differently. So I shared with my class this morning 3 things that I would encourage you to also incorporate. These are things that you can do on your own at home. You just want to make sure you're warmed up sufficiently, and it doesn't require much in terms of equipment, and just spending a few minutes each, not necessarily every day, but several times a week, can really help you to make some progress. And what you'll find is that if you work through some of these fundamental aspects and you're still challenged or restricted, you certainly want to consult with your yoga teacher, consult with me, and see what underlying things may be going on, because there's more than just the things I'm discussing here that affect backbending, depending on if that's something like a wheel pose, a standing backbend, or bow, or something like that. But here's 3 things I definitely encourage you to incorporate. Just try them out and see how it feels for you and in your body. Each of these you want to hold for a minimum, I would suggest, of 2 minutes. Unless it becomes stressful, then certainly come out sooner. Eventually working up to about 4, maybe even 5 minutes in each of the different positions. The first one, you can do this at home against the wall. You can use a couch, a piece of furniture. But we start off by coming into our tabletop. And then from here, I'm just going to slide one leg, and I want my knee to touch the wall, but I also want it in contact with the floor. Now, first stepping off point, you want to keep the chest up and the arms long, and we're going to shoot the other knee off to the side in kind of what we call a sprawl position. And from here, I'm letting my hips sink down towards the floor, and I'm going to lift up the chest. And you might feel a bit of stretch or an intense stretch through your frontal thigh, or even down around your hip or in your belly. That's kind of what we're looking for. From here, we could maybe hold this position if it's relatively comfortable. The next progression, you could use a yoga block if you need it. Otherwise, we just use our hands to the inside and bring our foot forward. Now again, a yoga block could really come in handy if this progression is pretty challenging, but the other one's not challenging enough. I start by pushing my butt towards the wall and pull my chest up, and then I start to let my hips just naturally sink away from the wall. The next progression from here is when we come up, again, hips towards the wall, chest up tall, and then from here, let my hips sink forward. The idea is I'm wanting my hip to move forward with my knee, and then as I get comfortable with this, I'm thinking of arching my spine. This primarily addresses the anterior hip, abdominal, and quadricep restriction you might be finding in a backbend posture. Okay, that's first one. No particular order here, guys. Next up, we're going to address a little bit more of what might be happening in the anterior hip, but somewhat the lower back. But again, anterior hip, lower belly, and frontal thigh. It's a supported bridge pose. So yoga block comes in handy, although you could use some firm cushions, something that would give you the support you need. I like to go on this side of the block, and I begin by just placing that in my sacral. Let's do this differently. Sorry, guys. Let's come on to our back. Got ahead of myself. So supported bridge. With supported bridge, we're actually going to go on the lower side of the block to begin with. We're going to raise the hips up into a bridge. And I'm simply going to place this on my sacrum. I don't want it on my lumbar. I encourage students to put this below the waistband of your pants rather than above. Now from here, we could work on extending the arms at our side and extending the legs away. And again, the idea is to feel a release through the frontal hip, so just relax into it. I prefer not to let the feet fall out, just keep the toes up, as that'll be more akin to what we'll find in our wheel pose and other backbends. Now, if this isn't, you're not really feeling it, we could certainly bring the block to the taller edge, tuck the shoulders like we would for a bridge, heels up. Again, place the block in your sacral area, below the waistband, and again, you could simply hold this if that's giving you enough of a sensation, or again, we could walk the feet away and release your arms at your side. Again, hanging out here for at least 2 minutes, as long as you're comfortable, you're not in stress, or maybe upwards of 4 or even 5 minutes. From here, we'll bring it back down, and it'll finish up with the thoracic spine, which is the rib cage area as well as the neck. For this one, we do maybe just start you on this side. Now, for this one, I just scoot the block in close. I want it in my thoracic, not my lower back. So that's this above the arch here, all right? And I'm just gonna lie back slowly. Now, if you have a firm block, you might wanna put a blanket over it. These are pretty squishy. But I can use my elbows for support and just see how that feels for me. And if it feels okay, I can extend my arms out of the support position, and then I can release my head back. Now, if you have any discomfort here, you could certainly use another block or something to support your head. But again, resting here for 2 or maybe upwards of 4 to 5 minutes. I do encourage when you come out of this, take an inhale, bring your chin towards your chest, and use your arms to help you get back up. So those are just 3 things you can practice several times a week, or at least once a week would be better than nothing, to help you, again, kind of delve deeper into your back bends. I would love to hear from you, your comments, or if you have questions, things I can do to help you. My website, chrisroachwellness.com, and make it a healthy day.